What if I told you that the way you drink water could quietly be weakening your erections? And no one ever warned you. A 67-year-old man once sat in a urologist's office and said, "Doctor, I exercise, I eat clean, but things just don't work like they used to." The doctor didn't prescribe a pill. He asked one shocking question: how do you drink your water? Most men drink water every day, yet still remain dehydrated where it matters most. And that mistake can silently steal your performance. Erections are not mysterious events or random reactions of the body. They are precise vascular processes that rely almost entirely on healthy blood flow. When a man becomes aroused, signals from the brain tell blood vessels in the penis to relax and widen, allowing a rapid surge of blood to fill the erectile tissue. The strength, firmness, and duration of an erection depend on how freely that blood can travel and how well pressure can be maintained. What many men do not realize, especially as they age, is that the quality of their blood flow is directly influenced by something as simple and overlooked as hydration. Blood is made up largely of water. When the body is well hydrated, blood remains thinner, smoother, and easier to circulate through even the smallest vessels. This is critical because the penile arteries are much narrower than major arteries like those supplying the heart. Any reduction in flow shows up there first. Even mild dehydration reduces plasma volume, making blood thicker and more viscous. Thicker blood moves more slowly, places extra strain on the heart, and struggles to reach delicate erectile tissue with enough force to create or sustain firmness. Urologists often point out that dehydration also interferes with nitric oxide, a key molecule responsible for relaxing blood vessels during an erection. When nitric oxide signaling is impaired, vessels cannot open fully, limiting how much blood can enter the penis. This means erections may feel weaker, take longer to achieve, or fade more quickly. Many men misinterpret this as inevitable aging, when in reality part of the issue is reduced circulation caused by inadequate hydration. Oxygen delivery is another crucial factor. Red blood cells transport oxygen, but they require adequate fluid volume to move efficiently. When hydration levels drop, oxygen delivery slows and tissues become less responsive. Erectile tissue, which is highly sensitive to oxygen supply, can lose elasticity and responsiveness over time if circulation remains compromised. This contributes not only to performance issues but also to long-term erectile health. As men grow older, hydration becomes even more important. Total body water naturally decreases with age, blood vessels lose flexibility, and circulation is already under greater strain due to factors like stress, medications, or metabolic changes. This means dehydration has a stronger negative effect than it did in younger years. A habit that caused no noticeable issues at 30 can quietly undermine performance at 60. The body simply has less margin for error. Another overlooked aspect is blood pressure regulation. Adequate hydration supports stable blood pressure, which is necessary to maintain the pressure inside the penis during an erection. Dehydration can cause drops or fluctuations in pressure, making it difficult to sustain firmness. Many men focus solely on hormones or pills while ignoring the basic fluid balance that allows those systems to function properly. Importantly, hydration is not about flooding the body with water all at once. Effective hydration is gradual and consistent, allowing fluids to be absorbed into cells and remain available for circulation. When hydration is maintained throughout the day, blood volume stays stable, vessels remain more pliable, and erectile tissue receives a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients. This creates the physiological conditions needed for reliable performance. Men often report subtle but meaningful improvements when hydration is corrected: better morning firmness, improved response time, and less fatigue during intimacy. These changes do not come from stimulation or medication, but from restoring the body's natural ability to circulate blood efficiently. That is why urologists consider hydration a foundational factor rather than a quick fix. Without adequate blood flow, no other intervention can work optimally. A simple example illustrates this clearly. A 64-year-old man who experienced inconsistent erections believed the problem was purely age-related. He exercised occasionally and ate reasonably well, but drank most of his water late in the day and often went hours with little fluid intake. After learning about the link between hydration and circulation, he began drinking small amounts of water regularly throughout the day, starting in the morning. Within a few weeks, he noticed stronger morning erections and improved firmness during intimacy. Nothing else in his routine changed. The improvement came from supporting blood flow, not from medication or supplements. This example reflects what many older men discover too late. Erections depend on circulation, and circulation depends on hydration. While water alone is not a cure-all, it is a fundamental requirement for vascular health. When hydration is neglected, blood flow suffers and erections weaken. When hydration is supported, the body regains part of its natural efficiency, allowing sexual function to reflect better overall health rather than silent dehydration. Many older men believe that drinking a large amount of water at once is a healthy habit, assuming that more water automatically means better hydration. In reality, urologists often warn that this approach can quietly work against the body, especially when it comes to circulation, nerve signaling, and sexual performance. The body is designed to absorb and use fluids gradually, not to process sudden floods of water. When large volumes are consumed quickly, much of that water is not retained where it is needed most and can actually disrupt the balance required for optimal function. One of the biggest issues with chugging water is electrolyte dilution. Electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, and magnesium are essential for nerve impulses, muscle contraction, and blood vessel regulation. Erections depend on precise communication between the brain, nerves, blood vessels, and smooth muscle tissue. When someone drinks excessive water all at once, these electrolytes can become diluted in the bloodstream and flushed out through increased urination. This reduces the efficiency of nerve signals that trigger blood vessel relaxation and weakens muscle control needed to trap blood in erectile tissue. Another problem is that rapid water intake overwhelms the digestive and circulatory systems. The body responds by quickly filtering out the excess fluid to maintain balance, which leads to frequent urination rather than true cellular hydration. This means the water never fully enters cells or supports blood volume for long periods. For erections, stable blood volume is crucial. Sudden spikes followed by rapid losses in fluid levels can cause fluctuations in blood pressure and circulation, making performance less reliable. Slow, steady. Hydration works differently. When water is consumed in smaller amounts throughout the day, the body has time to absorb it properly. Fluids are distributed into cells, blood volume remains more stable, and electrolytes stay balanced. This creates smoother circulation and more consistent delivery of oxygen and nutrients to tissues, including the highly sensitive erectile tissue. Instead of short-lived hydration followed by depletion, the body maintains a steady internal environment that supports vascular health. Aging makes this issue more significant. As men grow older, kidney function changes, thirst signals weaken, and the body becomes less efficient at regulating fluids. Large amounts of water consumed quickly are more likely to pass straight through without benefiting cells. At the same time, older blood vessels are less elastic and more sensitive to changes in blood thickness and pressure. This means hydration mistakes that once went unnoticed can now contribute to weaker erections, reduced stamina, and slower response times. Chugging water can also place temporary stress on the heart and blood vessels. Rapid fluid intake increases blood volume suddenly, which the cardiovascular system must adjust to quickly. For some men, especially those with underlying circulation issues, this can briefly reduce efficiency rather than improve it. In contrast, gradual hydration gently supports circulation without forcing the body to constantly rebalance itself. Many men focus on what they eat or which supplements they take while ignoring how they drink. Urologists often stress that hydration habits are just as important as total intake. Drinking small amounts regularly allows water to do its job at the cellular level, where it supports nerve signaling, muscle relaxation, and blood vessel dilation. These processes are fundamental to achieving and maintaining an erection. When hydration is erratic, performance can feel unpredictable, even if overall health appears good. Over time, consistent hydration patterns can improve how the body responds to arousal. Blood flows more easily, pressure is maintained longer, and tissues remain healthier. Men often describe this as feeling more reliable rather than dramatically different. This reliability comes from stability within the body, not from stimulation or medication. A simple example illustrates this clearly. A 62-year-old man believed he was well hydrated because he drank 2 or 3 large glasses of water in the evening. Despite this, he struggled with inconsistent erections and frequent nighttime urination. After learning about hydration timing, he switched to sipping water steadily throughout the day and reduced large late-night intake. Within a few weeks, he noticed fewer bathroom trips at night and more consistent firmness during intimacy. The improvement came not from drinking more water, but from drinking it in a way his body could actually use. This is why urologists emphasize that hydration is not about volume alone, but about rhythm and balance. Drinking water all at once may feel productive, but it often undermines the very systems men are trying to support. Slow, steady hydration respects how the body works, preserves electrolyte balance, and supports circulation over time. For older men especially, this simple shift can make a meaningful difference in performance and overall well-being. During sleep, the body goes for several hours without fluid intake, while still losing water through breathing, sweating, and basic metabolic processes. By the time a man wakes up in the morning, he is almost always mildly dehydrated, even if he does not feel thirsty. This overnight dehydration has a direct effect on blood consistency and circulation. Blood becomes slightly thicker, plasma volume is reduced, and flow through small blood vessels slows down. Because erections depend on fast, efficient blood flow through very narrow arteries, this morning state quietly sets the tone for erectile function throughout the entire day. Urologists often explain that the penis is one of the first places where circulation problems show up. The arteries supplying erectile tissue are much smaller than those supplying the heart or brain, so even subtle changes in blood thickness or vessel flexibility can have noticeable effects. When a man starts his day dehydrated and then delays drinking water, blood remains thicker for longer, limiting how easily it can surge into erectile tissue when arousal occurs. This can result in weaker morning firmness and reduced responsiveness later in the day. Morning hydration plays a key role in restoring healthy blood volume. Drinking water shortly after waking helps thin the blood back to its optimal consistency, allowing it to move more freely through blood vessels. This improved flow supports stronger pressure and better filling of erectile tissue when the body responds to stimulation. In simple terms, hydration early in the day helps ensure that the plumbing is working smoothly before the day's demands begin. Another critical factor is nitric oxide, a molecule that signals blood vessels to relax and widen during an erection. Nitric oxide production and activity are sensitive to hydration status. When the body is dehydrated, nitric oxide signaling becomes less efficient, making it harder for blood vessels to open fully. Morning hydration supports nitric oxide availability, improving the body's ability to trigger and sustain erections not just in the morning, but hours later as well. This is why urologists often describe hydration as a foundation rather than a quick fix. The timing of hydration matters just as much as the amount. Many men wake up and immediately reach for coffee or tea. While caffeine can increase alertness, it also has a mild diuretic and vasoconstrictive effect, encouraging fluid loss and temporarily narrowing blood vessels. Drinking caffeinated beverages before rehydrating can worsen morning dehydration and further reduce circulation. By contrast, drinking water first helps restore fluid balance and prepares the vascular system to handle caffeine later without compromising blood flow. Morning hydration also influences hormone balance and energy levels. Poor sleep, dehydration, and disrupted circulation can contribute to lower testosterone activity over time. While water does not directly raise testosterone, supporting circulation and cellular hydration helps the body maintain more stable hormonal signaling. Better energy, improved mood, and reduced fatigue all indirectly support sexual responsiveness and confidence throughout the day. As men age, the importance of morning hydration increases. Thirst signals become weaker, kidneys conserve water differently, and blood vessels lose elasticity. This means older men are more likely to remain dehydrated without realizing it, and the negative effects last longer. What once required little attention now becomes a daily habit that can meaningfully influence performance. Urologists often note that older men who prioritize hydration early in the day experience more consistent erectile responses and fewer fluctuations in firmness. Importantly, morning hydration does not mean chugging large amounts of water. Slow, moderate intake allows water to be absorbed efficiently and reduces stress on the cardiovascular system. Even 1 or 2 glasses consumed calmly after waking can make a measurable difference in circulation. When this habit is repeated daily, It creates a cumulative benefit, keeping blood flow more stable and erectile tissue better. Supported over time. A short example illustrates this clearly. A 66-year-old man noticed that his morning erections had become rare and that his response later in the day felt unreliable. He usually started his mornings with strong coffee and didn't drink water until mid-morning. After learning about hydration timing, he began drinking a glass of water shortly after waking, waiting 20 minutes before coffee. Within a few weeks, he noticed the return of occasional morning firmness and improved responsiveness during intimacy later in the day. Nothing else in his routine changed. The difference came from restoring circulation early, before dehydration set the tone for the day. This is why urologists emphasize that morning hydration is not a minor detail. It is a simple, low-effort habit that supports blood flow, nitric oxide activity, and vascular responsiveness from the very start of the day. When the body begins the morning properly hydrated, erections are supported not by chance, but by physiology working as it should. Many men believe that simply drinking more water automatically leads to better hydration. But urologists often explain that hydration is not just about fluid volume. It is about whether that fluid actually enters and nourishes the body's cells. This is where electrolytes play a critical role. Electrolytes are minerals such as sodium, potassium, and magnesium that carry electrical charges. These charges allow water to move across cell membranes and enable nerves and muscles to function properly. Without adequate electrolytes, much of the water a man drinks may pass through his body without fully hydrating the tissues that depend on it, including those involved in erectile function. Erections rely on a finely tuned interaction between nerves, blood vessels, and smooth muscle tissue. When arousal occurs, nerve signals trigger blood vessels in the penis to arc, relax, and widen, allowing blood to rush in and become trapped to create firmness. Electrolytes are essential at every step of this process. Sodium and potassium regulate nerve impulses, ensuring that signals from the brain reach the pelvic region efficiently. Magnesium supports muscle relaxation, allowing blood vessels to open fully instead of remaining tense or constricted. When electrolyte levels are imbalanced, these signals weaken, and the physical response becomes less reliable. Water alone cannot perform these functions. Pure water without sufficient minerals can dilute electrolyte concentrations in the blood, especially if consumed in large amounts. This dilution can interfere with nerve signaling and muscle control, leading to symptoms such as fatigue, cramping, dizziness, or poor circulation. For erectile health, this means that even men who drink plenty of water may still experience weaker erections because the water is not being used effectively at the cellular level. Electrolytes also help maintain proper blood volume and pressure. Blood pressure needs to rise and be sustained locally in the penis during an erection. If electrolyte levels are low, blood pressure regulation becomes unstable, making it harder to maintain firmness. Potassium helps balance sodium's effects on blood pressure, while magnesium supports the flexibility of blood vessels. Together, these minerals help ensure that blood can flow smoothly and remain where it is needed during sexual arousal. As men age, electrolyte balance becomes even more important. Kidney function changes, medications may alter mineral levels, and dietary intake often becomes less consistent. Older men are more likely to experience subtle deficiencies that do not cause dramatic symptoms, but quietly impair circulation and nerve responsiveness. This is one reason erections may feel less dependable with age, even when overall health seems acceptable. The issue is not always a lack of desire or testosterone, but a reduced ability of the body to coordinate hydration and mineral balance. Urologists often emphasize that balanced hydration supports nitric oxide activity, a key molecule responsible for signaling blood vessels to relax. Nitric oxide works best in an environment where cells are properly hydrated and minerals are available to support enzymatic reactions. Without adequate electrolytes, nitric oxide signaling can become less effective, limiting blood vessel dilation and reducing erectile firmness. It is important to understand that balanced hydration does not require sports drinks or excessive salt intake. Electrolytes can come naturally from whole foods such as fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and lightly salted meals. The goal is not to overload the body with minerals, but to avoid flushing them out by drinking large amounts of plain water without replenishment. When water intake and mineral intake are balanced, hydration becomes deeper and more effective. Men who correct electrolyte imbalances often notice improvements beyond sexual performance. Energy levels become steadier, muscle tension decreases, and circulation feels smoother. These changes reflect better cellular hydration and more efficient nerve communication throughout the body. Sexual function improves as part of this broader improvement, not as an isolated event. A short example illustrates this clearly. A 65-year-old man increased his water intake after hearing that hydration was important for erections, but he noticed frequent urination, leg cramps, and no improvement in firmness. After learning about electrolytes, he adjusted his diet to include mineral-rich foods and stopped drinking excessive plain water all at once. Within a few weeks, his cramps disappeared, and his erections became more consistent and easier to maintain. He did not drink more water than before, he simply allowed his body to use it properly. This example highlights a key truth. Many men wish they had learned sooner. Hydration is not just about water. Without electrolytes, water cannot fully support circulation, nerve signaling, or muscle relaxation. Balanced hydration creates the internal conditions that allow erections to occur naturally and reliably. When minerals and fluids work together, the body regains efficiency, and sexual function reflects that improved internal balance rather than frustration or decline. As men grow older, the body's relationship with water changes in quiet but powerful ways. Total body water naturally declines with age because muscle mass decreases and fat percentage increases, and muscle holds far more water than fat. At the same time, the mechanisms that regulate thirst and fluid balance become less sensitive. Many older men simply do not feel thirsty until dehydration is already present. This creates a situation where hydration errors are more frequent and more damaging than they were in younger years, even when daily routines seem unchanged. Blood vessels also undergo age-related changes. Over time, they lose elasticity and become stiffer, which makes circulation less forgiving. When a younger man is slightly dehydrated, his blood vessels can often compensate by dilating more easily. In an older man, that flexibility is reduced. Dehydration thickens the blood, lowers plasma volume, and increases resistance within already stiffened vessels. Because erections rely on rapid, high-pressure blood flow through very small arteries, these hydration-related changes show up clearly in erectile quality. What once caused no noticeable effect can now result in weaker firmness, slower response, or difficulty maintaining an erection. Another factor is that aging bodies recover more slowly from imbalances. When hydration is inconsistent, blood pressure fluctuates more, oxygen delivery becomes less efficient, and tissues remain under stress for longer periods. Erectile tissue, which is highly sensitive to circulation and oxygen levels, is especially affected. This is why many men notice that performance becomes unpredictable rather than simply weaker. Some days feel normal, while others feel disappointing, even though nothing obvious has changed. Often, hydration patterns are the hidden variable. Medications commonly used later in life can amplify these effects. Blood pressure drugs, diuretics, and certain heart medications influence fluid balance and electrolyte levels. When hydration habits are poor, these medications may further reduce circulating volume or mineral balance, compounding the impact on blood flow. This does not mean medications are the problem, but rather that hydration becomes more important than ever to support the body's changing physiology. Despite these challenges, aging also brings an important advantage. Hydration errors are highly fixable. Unlike structural damage or advanced disease, dehydration-related circulation issues respond quickly to correction. When older men improve how and when they drink water, blood volume stabilizes, circulation becomes smoother, and tissues receive better oxygenation. Because erectile issues often stem from functional rather than irreversible causes, improvements can appear within weeks rather than months or years. Urologists often observe that older men who adopt consistent hydration habits experience noticeable changes in energy levels, mental clarity, and physical responsiveness. Erections may feel firmer, more reliable, and easier to sustain. These improvements are not dramatic transformations, but meaningful shifts that restore confidence and reduce anxiety around performance. The body responds well when given what it needs consistently. Another reason hydration is so fixable is that it does not require extreme measures. There is no need for expensive treatments or complex regimens. Small, steady changes, Drinking water regularly throughout the day, prioritizing hydration in the morning, and avoiding long periods without fluids can significantly improve circulation. Because the aging body has less tolerance for mistakes, it also shows clearer benefits when those mistakes are corrected. Many older men mistakenly believe erectile decline is inevitable and irreversible. This belief often prevents them from addressing simple factors that could make a real difference. Hydration is one of the safest and most overlooked areas because it seems too basic to matter. Yet urologists consistently emphasize that foundational habits often determine how well more advanced systems function. When hydration improves, everything built on circulation improves with it. The psychological impact of these changes should not be underestimated. Improved hydration can reduce fatigue, headaches, and muscle stiffness, leading to better mood and confidence. Confidence itself plays a role in sexual responsiveness. When men feel more energetic and less physically strained, arousal becomes more natural and less forced. This creates a positive feedback loop where physical improvements support mental ease, which further supports performance. A short example illustrates this clearly. A 68-year-old man believed his declining erections were simply a permanent part of aging. He rarely felt thirsty and often went most of the day with minimal fluid intake, drinking a large amount of water only in the evening. After learning about age-related dehydration, he began drinking small amounts of water regularly, especially in the morning. Within a few weeks, he noticed more stable energy and firmer erections during intimacy. Nothing else changed. The improvement came from correcting a hydration habit that his aging body could no longer compensate for. This example reflects a broader truth many men wish they had known earlier. Aging makes hydration errors more damaging because the body has less reserve and flexibility. At the same time, it makes hydration improvements more powerful because circulation responds quickly when balance is restored. Proper water intake is not a cure-all, but it is one of the simplest, safest, and most effective ways older men can support erection quality, overall circulation, and long-term well-being. Here's the truth. Many men never hear. Erection problems aren't always about age. Sometimes they're about circulation neglect. Water isn't just hydration. It's pressure, it's flow,